Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a couple more cards with the same products, the same color palette that I used yesterday, and the same technique, which I'm calling selective ink blending. And I'm featuring some brand new products from the February 2022 release from Pinkfresh Studio. I absolutely love this delicate floral print stamp, and I just couldn't get enough of this color palette. So if you missed yesterday's video, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a card up into the corner here so that you can check it out. But I'm starting out by stamping a panel of Nina Solar White cardstock using the Pinkfresh Studio Black Hybrid ink. This is a great ink. It's going to be waterproof and Copic friendly when it dries. It is a hybrid ink, so it takes a little bit longer to dry. So if you're going to go right into ink blending or right into Copic coloring, you're going to want to hit it with a heat tool to make sure that ink is good and dry and set before you do your ink blending. Now this set also has a layering stencil set available, and I'm going to be using that today, but I'm not going to be using all of the stencils. I'm going to use just a couple of the stencils, and I'm only going to add color to the flowers on this pattern. Now in this stencil set, if you use all of the stencils, it's going to add color to both the flowers and the leaves. But I wanted to create a different kind of more modern feel to these card panels. And so instead of using all of the layers, I'm just going to use the layers that add color to the flowers and the detail to the flowers. Now I am working on my Glassboard Studio glass craft mat. I have a link for this below in the YouTube description, and I do have a discount code for that. It is Carissa20. You can use that year round to save 20% off. Now, I love to do ink blending on this because you can see I have little magnets there. They kind of look like sorry game pieces, but they hold my stencils in place and my cardstock in place while I'm doing my ink blending. And the other thing I love is that this mat is super easy to clean up. Now I added a base of the Candy Violet ink to this panel. And then I decided I wanted to kind of create a little more, a different hue of ink. And I didn't really have a Pinkfresh Studio ink that was the exact color that I wanted. So I'm mixing the Candy Violet and the bubblegum ink to create the color that I want. Now I'm switching over to a smaller ink blending brush here because I wanted more control over where I'm putting this bubblegum ink. I haven't switched stencils yet. This is the same exact stencil that I used to add that Candy Violet layer to the florals. And so I'm just adding those two colors and allowing them to mix together. Now I've moved on to the detail layer for these florals, and I'm coming in with the Raspberry Bliss ink. This is a little bit darker pink color, and it's going to add the detail layer to the florals. Now, when I looked at that, I felt like the details were a little harsh. So I went back to the original stencil that I used, and I added a little more bubblegum ink to the center of those flowers to kind of soften out that detail layer. Now I'm going to hit this with my heat tool to make sure all of that ink is really nice and set. And then I'm going to add some gold paint splatters to this panel using my Kuretake Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors watercolor palette. So in order to do this, I just need to get my watercolor ready. So I'm adding a little bit of water from a spray bottle directly to the pan. And I am just misting my brush to get it wet because I don't have a sink in my craft room. So this was a way to keep me from having to walk to the kitchen, which is like next door to my craft room. So really what I'm saying is this was a really lazy thing to do, but it worked. Then I'm going to get that ink watercolor kind of worked up into the consistency that I want. And I'm going to use the brush to just splatter some gold paint splatters onto this panel. Now, up until this point, if you watched yesterday's video, I did exactly the same for those cards, but these cards that I'm creating today are very actually different than the cards that I created yesterday. I'm using the same products and the same techniques, but I'm combining them in different layouts to create some fun and different variations of these cards. So I've taken the panel and I've cut it at an angle, and I am adding a little bit of gold cardstock along the bottom of this upper piece of that panel here. So I am just gonna kind of create a transition area there. And then I cut off the excess and I've die cut the Geotiles die from some cactus cardstock from the stamp market. And I am going to adhere this diagonal cut panel over the top of that die cut piece. And so it gives me a kind of a half and half look, but the bottom half is this very cool geometric looking die cut. And the top part is this really cool modern looking floral print. Now, in order to adhere this onto my card base, and my card base is a top folding A2 size card base that I created from some Nina Solar White heavyweight cardstock, I added just some little dots of Barely Arts glue all over the back of this die cut, and then I put it in place. Now for the sentiment, I used the Glimmer Champagne foil, and I foiled these really cool fancy script sentiments from Pinkfresh Studio onto some black cardstock. I love the look of this gold foil on that dark black cardstock. It is so beautiful, and I placed it on using a little bit of foam adhesive, following that angle that I cut the original card panel at. And I finished this card off using a little bit of the metallic gold pearls from Pinkfresh Studio. Now for the second card, I'm actually using this Curvy Leaves die, and I've die cut it from vellum and the cactus colored cardstock. And you can see I did some selective ink blending on this panel, and I've masked off the bottom portion. It really doesn't matter because I'm actually creating kind of a window card. Now you could definitely make this into a shaker card as well, and I think that would be super cool, but I just wanted to show a portion of this panel. So I've die cut a panel of linen cardstock using a Pinkfresh Studio circle die, and I've used a little bit smaller circle die to die cut this gold cardstock from Spellbinders. And I'm going to adhere that to the back side of this panel with the circle in it so that I get just a little bit of a delicate gold circle frame kind of peeking out from behind that white cardstock. Then I am going to adhere my leaves kind of in that bottom right-hand corner of this circle. I guess there's no corner on a circle, but you get what I'm saying here. And I'm just layering them up offset just a little bit. I'm using a little bit of Barely Arts liquid glue and just adhering those on. I did not adhere all of the leaves down. I just kind of put the adhesive in the center. And then once again, I have one of these fancy script foiled sentiments on this black cardstock, and I'm adhering that on using a little bit of foam adhesive. Now I turned this panel over and I put foam adhesive all over the back, and then I'm going to layer this up over that panel to where you can see that colored pattern coming through that circle window. It is so beautiful, and I'm going to finish this off using just a few more of those metallic gold pearls from Pinkfresh Studio. And that completes my second card for today. I'm actually going to throw this onto a card base because it's not on a card base yet, so that will actually complete it. But there you have it, a second card project featuring the selective ink blending technique that I shared yesterday and these brand new gorgeous products from Pinkfresh Studio. Now, I did want to mention we are celebrating this release with an Instagram hop over at Instagram. I will have my Instagram linked below, so if you want to check it out, there's going to be lots of inspiration. There's going to be prizes to be had, so I encourage you to check that out over there. I will also have a link below to the featured products used in this project and a link to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there you can find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as more information on the Insta Hop that's happening today. As always, I want to thank you for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed these projects and you've been inspired. If you have, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials that I share here. And if you loved this video, I would love it if you would share it with a friend. Thanks again for stopping by, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. If you want to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.